So happy Wednesday. I have my second win. I should be well rested because I haven't been here for 3 weeks on vacation. You know, you have to take time to enjoy the summer and rest. But I want to thank you for coming on back and coming here this evening to be with us for another phenomenal conversation here on Get to Know Bob. I am your host, Dr. Sonia M. Weaver. Yes, I am enjoying the level up. Thank you, God. I have been on cloud nine. I'm telling you guys, I am trying to come down from cloud nine, but it is really difficult. And what I will say is I appreciate all the congratulations I've been getting. You guys, I did not even realize so many people were out there rooting for me. It is really comforting to know that you have those silent voices that keep you in prayer and in thought, because I'm about to get busy. That new title definitely has me in a place of getting busy. So, yes, that's what I've been doing while we've been gone. I have been just in meditation, thinking about, okay, what has been on the shelf? What do I need to complete? Because it is time to put that elevation of name to use. So there's definitely more to come. I will be spilling some tea before this year is over with. I am really excited about that. And again, I just thank you all for your support along this journey. Now, as we get into tonight's conversation, I am really excited. It is a guest who we've had here before. So yes, I like when we have people that are comfortable and familiar with the platform. It makes the conversation just like catching up with a dear friend. And that's exactly what it's going to be. We're going to catch up with a dear friend on tonight. And of course, bring you some amazing information that will be applicable to your life. And of course, will have you in the place of being able to support either firsthand or making sure that you share with others to support. So we do thank you for watching, and we encourage you to share this with others. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe. So before we start our conversation, I want to remind you of the last conversation that we had, and that was on Wednesday, July 17th. Now, I told you it's been a few weeks since we've been here. So to jot your memory, it was crafting success, the versatile approach to business mastery. And it was an amazing conversation held. So if you missed it, make sure you take an opportunity to revisit that conversation. Now, on tonight, we will be speaking with attorney Terrence Quinn, and we're going to be talking about today's preparations for tomorrow's success. Preparing for your tomorrow will begin with the actions that you take today. And that is so important to remember. So welcome, Attorney Quinn. Let's talk
Hey,
about that.
listen, I'm excited to be here. It's always a pleasure to come and join and just participate in anything you're doing because you're always doing a great job of empowering and providing great information for business owners and just people out here trying to get it done. So I appreciate you. And congratulations, Dr. Weaver. I love it. I love it. When I saw that, I just said, of course, of course. Mhm.
Thank you so much. And, I was trying not to write a book chapter. So believe me, everything that I wrote was the condensed version. Even as I was writing it, I was like, let me delete that out, delete that out. But when you have literally as a child, I would write Dr. Sonia Seabrook. That's my maiden name. And it just was in me. Of course, the only thing I ever thought I could be was MD. I never imagined that there was other options for me. But, that
Mhm.
was it in my spirit. So I have a lot to work to do. But thank you for that. Congratulations, and keep them coming because I'm going to put that doctor to use.
Yeah, that's right. And you should. And you should.
Thank you. Thank you. So, for those who may not know, and I cannot imagine because you talk about me being everywhere, OMG, from the first conversation to what you're doing now in 2024, I don't even see how you have the time for me as busy as your calendar looks.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy, but I always make time for you. You know, just out here trying to follow your lead and providing information everywhere I can to make sure people are making the right decisions. We have people who get a lot of information on whatever the topic or category from people who aren't experts or specialists, and sometimes, oftentimes, it ends up going in the wrong direction. And so I'm just really working hard, trying to find a way to provide information everywhere I can to help people not go in the wrong direction.
I love it. I love it. And I had the opportunity recently for three people that contacted me about someone to do estate planning that they were seeking. And so first and foremost, I said, Attorney Terrence Quinn, and my accolades to you was not just that you were a wealth of knowledge of knowing it. I told them, I said, now I'm passionate just about what you're seeking, estate planning. Not an attorney that's all over the place and dabbles a little bit in it, but passionate about estate planning. I said, make sure you look them up, research them. I said, now I know other people who have like firms and they have attorneys in it that offer it. I said, but this is one firm that is the focus. The focus is you and your estate. I said, so if you want someone who's passionate about it, that's who I highly recommend. Now, they haven't come back to me and told me if they follow through, but I know when it comes to estate planning, who comes to my mind. So I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to others. You know, maybe this is the first time someone's watching, the first time that they're seeing you. Please self-introduce. Let them know who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm Terrence Quinn. So I'm an attorney here based primarily out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's where my office is. However, I work throughout the state and these days throughout the country. Seems like I'm always somewhere supporting people in one way or another around the country when it comes to estate planning and things. So I'm not a general practitioner, as Dr. Weaver was saying, not a general practitioner. I'm an estate planning attorney, which means I focus on everything related to two major questions, which I think are two of the four most important questions everybody will deal with at some point in their lifetime. Number one, what happens to your stuff, to your assets or your children if you pass? And number two, what happens if you become incapacitated and can't make decisions for yourself? Who will make decisions for you and what will they decide? So everything that I do is based around those two questions, from me informing people and instructing people how to answer them to me helping people after they have or have not answered those questions and the crisis hits home. My firm is a firm that does all of that. When people haven't planned correctly or have and there's conflict, probate court occurs. So as a byproduct of estate planning, we also do probate work. And then my favorite group of people, no offense to everybody else, my favorite group of people are my retirement age people on up. I also help them with all things related to that, which is pretty much everything when it comes to elder law. That's what I do. Married to two children, married to Adrienne and two children, Titus and Jada. We are moving my oldest to college next week. And this is tough for me. This is tough for me.
It's tough. Now,
the little guy's been with me forever, wants to go everywhere with me. And now he won't be there when I look for him in his room.
Yeah, it becomes an adjustment. I can say, having the one room empty, we still call it, it's in Kristen's bed. And it's not Kristen's bedroom. Kristen's been gone for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better at saying, either my craft room, because that's where I do my crafting. It's the guest bedroom now, so
Yeah.
we kind of have multiple names, but it took forever to stop saying, look in Kristen's room.
This is wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know I'll get over it eventually.
Yes, it does happen. And then there was a post on your page, I think from your mom, where she had an older picture of you when your kids were really, really, really little. And I just noticed just how young actually you were too. So
Yeah.
time moves very quickly,
I see. I
which
see.
is definitely a great segment into what you do. Time moves quickly and you must prepare. So, two of the areas that you talked about were what happens if something were to happen to you and your children are left behind? Where will your assets go? What would happen to them? And then the second that you talk about was if you became ill and you could not manage your resources yourself, who would take care of you and what decisions they would make on your behalf? So, share with us what you are still finding out there. You have been working tirelessly. Are you seeing that more people have talked about estate planning and they're more prepared than they were before? Or are we still behind in where we need to be?
Yeah, so I'll say both. So first, no, I'm not saying that more people have done any kind of estate planning. The numbers are still the same. There was a study that came out after the pandemic, but a couple years ago, where they just ran the numbers to see how many people are doing, and it's still the same that about 7 out of 10 people in any room, any walk of life, wherever you go, doctors, lawyers, teachers, service workers of any sort, anybody, out of 10 people, seven of them don't have a plan in place. So that's still the same. Now, what is different, I think, because of the internet and all of the wonderful search tools that we have, more than in the past, when people do come in to see me, they do have some idea of what they're talking about because they've Googled something or talked to their neighbor who's a Google attorney or something like that, and they have a bit more idea. But no, generally it's about the same.
Wow. I'll be honest, I'm a bit surprised with that because it just seems like I hear more and more about it. I see more workshops about it. And I guess I assume because I'm seeing more on that end that then the message is getting out to more people that are responding to it. So that leads me to believe the message may be getting out there, but why are people still not doing it? Is it that time thing? They think they have enough time?
So yes, that's one of them. Yeah, for sure. There's several different reasons why I think it's happening. First of all, I'm going to blame attorneys and the educators. I don't know that people are educating correctly in this area. So a lot of people, there are more and more people I'm discovering who are doing the workshops and the webinars and the different things to provide information. But as I've sat in them, and maybe I'm just a tough judge of speakers, but as I've sat in them, it's not really tailored. It's not really designed, in my opinion, to empower people to move forward and get a plan done. It's trying to convince them to do a plan and telling them that they should, but it's a little too high in the cloud. So when I do my workshops, I really try to bring it to the level of the people in the room. I don't try to sound like I'm teaching a law school course. I try to bring it to a place where we're talking about real life things and how it impacts that. And that, as I found it, that causes me to relate, to make the information relatable to them so they can understand what to do. So I think number one, it's an understanding of what should happen in the first place. What should I be doing, period? But then, yes, beyond that, the other reasons are pretty similar. So people think they have time. People feel like they're jinxing themselves if they put a plan in place. They think like they're going to make themselves die because they put a plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
And then also cost. You know, people don't like to talk to lawyers because they think we're going to charge you obscenely, charge you more than what it's really, than its value. And a lot of people may go online and pull something down real quick, which I think is typically a bad idea, or just not do anything because they remember when their grandma passed, their mom got the asset automatically. And they
Mm-hmm.
figure, you know, it's not necessary. Somebody just told me that yesterday. Yeah, well, when my mom passed, you know, it all came right down to me automatically, and it was fine. And while that might seem to be true, I told them if I looked at it, I probably would be able to show them where there really were complications. They just didn't realize it. So it's all of those things.
Right, right. And I have to imagine that with the current state of the economy, it's a double-edged sword. You have prices that are going skyrocket. You have people who
Yeah.
are working, and because of price increase, they may just be making enough, to do what they need to do for their day-to-day life. And while they
Yeah.
know it's a good thing to do, they don't think they can economically afford to do so. So,
Yeah.
as we go into a break, when we come back, I do want you to kind of touch on that piece of it, because I have a feeling that that might be preventing a lot of people from
Yeah.
moving forward, thinking that it's just something that they cannot put into their budget right now. And on top of thinking that they still will have future time to do so. Okay, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break.
Session hosted by Sonia M. Weaver and Jason Integrity. Celebrate the wins, let go of the stress, vent, share, and encourage. Register today on Facebook or Alignable by searching for the BE Black Entrepreneurs Group. What will happen to your
Okay.
children and assets when you die? If you cannot make decisions for yourself, who will make them for you? What do you need to have in place? A will or trust? Join Zoom August 16th, 2024 at 12 p.m. to find the answers you seek. Register at TGQLAW.
Well, we're going to come back because I'm not sure what's going on with our feed, but technology, when it works well. When it doesn't. So we're
That's
going
right.
to just try to reload that while we continue then with our conversation.
Just go with the flow.
Exactly. Okay. So the question that I had on the table was the cost. Is there a way economically for people who really, let's just be honest, they don't have it, for them to incorporate it somehow into their budget?
Oh, so yes, absolutely. So there's several different ways to answer that question. So to start with, yes, there's always a way to cover the cost of the plan that you need. Now, your estate plan is designed to consider your assets, and the type of plan that you have is based on the consideration of the assets that you have. So everyone's plan is not going to cost the same. And your estate planning attorney is the one person who truly has to know everything about you. Now, that might be scary, but there's the only person who has to know everything about you. I got to know your health. I have to know your family secrets, and I have to know everything that's a part of your estate. So if I see that you can't afford a plan, a super, super robust plan, then you probably don't need a super, super robust plan. So the cost correlates with the type of plan that you need. Now, that's the starting point. In addition to that, your estate plan is probably, I always say, those two questions are two of the four most important questions you'll ever deal with in your life. what happens to your assets or children if you die? Like, if you really think about that, and you think about the stuff that you own, no matter how much or how little, and if you think about your family, your kids, and whoever else is a part of the family that you'd want to benefit from your estate, then secondly, if you think about yourself, if you were no longer able to make decisions for yourself tomorrow, and you think about how people would have to begin handling business for you, making decisions for you, paying bills for you, talking to the people who are going to provide care for you and making those decisions for you. A quick question to consider is, how important would it be for all of those decisions to be made in the way you want them to be made? Because if you
Right.
don't plan, it's up in the air how those decisions will be made. And it certainly won't be based on what you wanted, because we don't know what you wanted because you didn't write it down.
You didn't
And so when
share
you
it.
look at it, when you look at it from that perspective, how important is it to find a way to come up with the cost for this plan? And let's just talk about that second question. You can't make decisions for yourself. Really, for a second, those of you watching, consider if you ended up needing nursing home care tomorrow because you, or that nursing care period, because you couldn't handle business for yourself, how important would it be for you to make sure what you wanted to happen is what would happen? And so when you consider that seriously, it kind of raises the bar on significance. And to me, it puts it ahead of most other things that we find a way to cover as far as cost. So I feel like the reason I'm doing all these workshops is not because of the money I'm trying to make, because in most of the jurisdictions where I talk, I can't even do the work. I'm trying to share the info. I feel like I'm swinging flags and on a mountaintop with a megaphone and horns going off. And I'm begging people to get this done now. And so what I'm saying in response to your question is, yes, we all have to consider cost. And we're all out here trying to make it with the money that we have. But I would offer that putting off other things that you want to purchase so that you could put this plan in place is easily one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life. And the problem is, most people make that decision the wrong way. Other things are bigger priorities from a cost perspective. And then when the hammer drops, what they find is those cost concerns are now left to your children as they're trying to figure out how to navigate those two questions on your behalf with no direction from you. So not only are they trying to figure out what to do, but they're also trying to figure out how to finance it, when the plan that we would have built for you would have covered all of that. So to me, cost is a thing for sure, and I get it, but it's worth it to figure out a way to get it done right now and don't put it off.
Okay, Terrence, I do like that. And I'm playing devil's advocate. So that makes sense. Definitely does. So you have the person who said, okay, I finally, though, understand I do need to be responsible. So I finally got life insurance. And because I don't want my kids to have the burden to bury me or these different things. I don't have anything to leave them. I'm just getting by, and I'm paying to get, to have life insurance to be responsible. I have nothing else that I can leave. I'm still paying on a mortgage or whatever the case may be. Now, what do you say with this person who's I'm taking a step towards my future, but really I don't have anything to leave. I am concerned, what happens if something happens and I still have the mortgage. That's why I took the life insurance, so it could, cover that if something happens to me. So they think that they're still doing something. Talk to that person. What is it that they're missing then, outside of if they get ill? We're talking about death at this point.
So basically, the way you framed it is very helpful. What I heard you say was that there was a life insurance policy and there's a property that's owned, even though there's a mortgage on the property. So one thing, a lot of people feel as though when you have a mortgage on your property that you don't own the property because you have a mortgage. A lot of people tell me the bank owns it. That's not true. You own the property. The bank just has a lien against it, which is why they have to go to court to take it from you if you don't pay the bill, because you're the owner. So having said that, my question to the person who would have that wonderful question is what do you want to happen with the property when you're gone? So let me ask you that. What in this hypothetical, so you take on the hypothetical person,
Okay.
what would you want to happen to that property if you passed?
I would want, well, if it was me and it was just
Mhm.
me that passed, I would want my husband obviously to continue to have the property because this is where he lives.
Yeah, right. So so let's say, and pick either one. Is your husband's name on the property or with you, or is it only in your name? Pick either way. I got an answer either way.
his name's on the property.
Perfect. All right. So good. So when you pass, sure, the property would go to your husband. But if it would stay with him because he's a joint owner with you, probably as husband and wife, legal terminology, he would ultimately get the property most likely without probate court, which is cool. He would then continue to make the mortgage payment because he's probably on the mortgage, which is fine. So in that scenario, that's cool. But my thought would be, because remember, my job is to look at worst case scenario. What happened if you all passed together? You all
Right.
passed in the same car accident. You'd want the property to go to your children, probably.
Right.
Is that
Right.
probably right? All right.
Yes.
Well, your children are now going to have to go to probate court because you didn't plan correctly. And so in order to get that property, they're going to have to figure out which court to file in, figure out which paperwork to file, figure out how much it costs to file. Uh-oh, there's a cost question that they have to come up with the money to cover the cost of filing it.
Wow.
And then deal with lawyers and judges potentially in court to get the judge to give them the property. And what's going to happen, and let's say you wanted them to keep the property and they wanted to keep it because it's sentimental value, because it was yours, they're going to first have to satisfy that mortgage. Now, the life insurance may cover the cost of that. Maybe it won't, but they're going to have to figure out how to satisfy that mortgage first. And they're also going to have to pay any other creditors that you have. So any other debt that you have, because they go to probate court to get that property, they're going to have to satisfy all of that debt. And so let me show you what happens. Remember, this comes to me all the time. Now we're having to deal with the creditors, and because we didn't plan correctly ahead of time, and I'm not just talking about financial plan, I'm even talking about the estate plan. Probably we have to sell the sentimental value house to satisfy not only the mortgage that maybe the life insurance didn't cover, but also the other debt. So it's a lose-lose situation all around if there was an interest in passing on that property. So what does all that mean? Yes, I get it. People don't feel like they have anything. They don't feel like they have enough. And what I'm trying to tell them is, first of all, you probably have more than you think. And when I dig and show you, I'll show you how you have more than you think. And then secondly, with the proper planning, we potentially could have satisfied that mortgage and avoided those other creditors, depending on the type of plan that we put together. So estate planning is not just identifying who gets your stuff. Estate planning, my job as your estate planning attorney, is to help you acquire, build, protect, and then properly leave everything that's a part of your estate, which is all of your assets. It's your children and your family. It's you and your body, to make sure all of that is covered correctly. So it's much bigger than just putting names on the documents about who gets everything.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, because I'm going to say most people, including myself, you broke it down right into layman's terms, would think it is your estate. It's all your stuff, where your stuff goes. And a lot of people really fail to believe, like, I have that, with the exception of the clothes on my back, I don't own too much, like you said, the bank owns this, my car is 12 years old. So, if they want it, okay, they can have it. And people don't really think that they really have assets that are going to be used or that can be passed on. And then you said something about your kids having to pay your credit debt or your debtors. And a lot of people, including myself, I'm like, why would I have to pay her debt? Or his debt, my parents' debt, and you just don't necessarily think about those things because it's like, it's not their debt, it's my debt, and I'm no longer here, Wow. Thank you for that. Well, Terrence, we're going to try to reload our clips one more time so as I can respect our core businesses, and hopefully we get them working. And if I can't, I'm just going to have to apologize to the core business. But we're going to take a break and see if the clip plays.
Hosted by Sonia M. Weaver and Jason Integrity. Celebrate the wins, let go of the stress, vent, share, and encourage. Register today on Facebook or Alignable by searching for the BE Black Entrepreneurs Group. What will happen to your children and assets when you die? If you cannot make decisions for yourself, who will make them for you? What do you need to have in place? A will or trust? Join Zoom August 16th, 2024.
I don't think so. I was trying to see if I could
2024.
L. Gunn. August 19th at 7.
Okay, guys. I'm
Beginning at 10 a.m. at 18,000 West 9 Mile Road, Southfield.
Let's see.
Michigan, first floor. Learn how to tell your story for healing and
Well, I tried.
For advancement in your life, relationships.
Where we just talk about the things and the events coming up. Accept my apologies. So we're going to just keep the conversation going at this point. So, or I guess I could do it manually. We'll see on next segment. I'll do it manually. So we talked about some of the misconceptions, Terrence, about what people are experiencing in their thoughts of estate planning. When you have gone out, because what people need to see is that this is just not something that you recently decided to do. I mean, I only took a few clips and I kind of did every other month just for 2024. If you see, kicking off in January, Terrence was doing a workshop. He probably also had the Zoom going. And in February, he was doing something. March and April, he's doing something. July, he's doing something. And they all are talking about what you need to do to prepare for your future. And on most events, Terrence does talk about those two key questions. What are you going to do in the event that you're not there? And what's going to happen with your children when you're not there? And what happens when you can't make decisions for yourself? So, Terrence, I will say, unfortunately, I have an uncle whose health is not necessarily the best, and it's been declining. And from my understanding, my aunt makes those decisions for him. But he's still kind of aware enough most times to be like, no, I don't want this or that or the other thing. And, to keep the peace, they kind of listen. My question is coming from two folds. Okay, so you're in a state right now where someone needs to make decisions for you. Is it only one person that can be given to? Like, when you have power of attorney over, if something were to happen to me, only one person can do that? Is just my question to start with.
Yeah, no, you can. So it's two different ways to deal with that. You can appoint more than one person, as many as you want. I don't typically recommend more than one, but you can appoint as many as you want to do that for you. Or a court can as well. If you haven't properly appointed that and need somebody to do that for you, and you can't appoint someone at this point, then someone can approach the court to get the court to appoint someone to handle that for you. And it can be more than one person in all scenarios.
Gotcha. Now, I understand why you would say I don't recommend it. Now, I'm going like probably deep. Like you said, your job is to think about all the possible scenarios. And my question goes on that someone could have an issue young in life and they've appointed someone, but then something happens to that person. Then what happens to that original power of attorney? Does that when they go to court then and try to see who's available next to do it?
Great question, Dr. Weaver. You're right on track. So yeah, they could. They could go to court to have the court appoint a backup person. So there are two different approaches. So one is to put powers of attorney in place. That's where you control who's going to be in charge. And then the other is for a court to appoint a guardian or conservator. With the powers of attorney, while you're alive and able, you have the ability to create a document where you identify who you would want to handle either money for you, that's the financial power of attorney, or medical decisions for you with the healthcare power of attorney. Okay. I typically recommend that you put a main person in charge, have a backup if that person can't do it, and a backup to the backup. Some people want to have people serve jointly. I don't typically recommend that, but that's just a preference. That's not the rule. It's up to you how you want to do that. If you aren't in a position where you can make decisions for yourself, then a court can appoint a guardian or conservator. The guardian is the person responsible for your well-being. The conservator is the person responsible for your financial matters. Either way it goes, if the first person is in charge, either your document itself or the court will determine who steps in after that.
That's good to know, because the first thing that came to me is just because someone would take excellent care of you, the person, make sure that you're eating well, you're taken care of, you get to your appointments and all of this stuff, does not mean that they're the best at managing money.
That's right.
So you can right. So you can actually now appoint someone that, from what I'm hearing, that will manage you as the person, and someone else that is really good at handling and make sure things get paid on time, that can handle the estate part of the financial piece.
That's right. That's exactly right. And part of my job is to help you consider who that should be. You might have people in mind, but you might come to me and I say, no, you probably don't want to put that person, or vice versa. You might not have people in mind, and I can help you identify who that should be. So yeah, that's right. You want to be very careful who you appoint.
Right, you do. Oh, and I want to pause to say hello, Eleanor Fleming. Thank you so much for joining the conversation this evening. Some of her comments, Terrence, has been build and protect. That's really good to hear. This is information that people often overlook where assets are concerned. Great information, she said. Thank you for joining. Make sure you do share this with other people. So we are going to take a break, and I am going to then acknowledge our core businesses that have contributed to tonight's show, and we'll be right back. Oh, wrong one. So used to using that one. So Supreme Transitions is having their grand opening on Saturday, August 17th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Detroit at 16030 West McNichols Road in Detroit, Michigan. Supreme Transitions proudly announces its grand opening as they are marking a significant milestone in providing culturally specific service provision to survivors of domestic and sexual violence in Detroit. We have an event coming up for Women Ignited series, the storytelling, What's Your Story, from Ready Women Collective. This is Saturday, August the 17th at 10 a.m. at 18000 West Nymon Road in Southfield, Michigan, on the first floor. Please register at the QR code presented. Amazing Black Woman Week with Rochelle Robinson, sound therapy, sound bath, and gong meditation healing on Sunday, August 18th, beginning at 2:30 p.m. at Bloom Transformation Center, 220 Iron Street in Detroit, Michigan. The cost is $37. Book today. Monday, August 19th is Financially Flawless, Financially Literate Amazing Women Learning Economic Success Strategies. This is a virtual event with financial strategist Crystal L. Gunn as she kicks off Amazing Black Woman Week. Register via the QR code. So, Terrence, we are back. Now, one question that I have for you that queued up for me was I saw that there was a change in the law. For those who probably like me, we wouldn't have known what the law was to begin with. But so help the people understand what was and now what is.
Yeah, so great question. So it was a tweak to our power of attorney law. So we have long had laws regarding powers of attorney, how you give somebody authority to make financial or medical decisions for you, or financial decisions in this regard. And there's what's called the Uniform Power of Attorney Act, which a lot of states have been signing on to and adopting as their own state specific law for some time now. So Michigan adopted it late last year, and it became effective July 1st of this year. So lawyers recognize the difference, maybe bankers recognize the difference, but it really wouldn't seem too different for the average everyday consumer. So it did things like it caused powers of attorney that were drafted under the old or new rules to automatically be durable. What does durable mean? That's a term, and actually a client asked me that just today. Durable simply means if you have an incapacity, if you have a power of attorney in place. So I appoint Dr. Weaver to be my agent under a financial power of attorney, and she starts using that power of attorney on my behalf. I'm in my right mind and everything, and she starts using it. Well, if I become incapacitated, historically, if my document didn't specifically say that she can continue that power beyond my incapacity, then she couldn't. Well, under the new Power of Attorney Act, it's just the opposite. She can continue using it regardless of my capacity, unless the document specifically says she can. So that's not a big deal. Most people probably still don't know what I'm talking about with me explaining it that way, but attorneys recognize the significance of it. I will say one of the big things that is an adjustment to that law that can count to people is this just the way it clears up gray areas with financial institutions like banks. Now, what do I mean? It's been a concern among attorneys who do this work for years, where banks really had the power. Your daughter shows up with a power of attorney that you've given her to access your bank account. And the bank can say, no, we don't believe you. We don't believe she wanted you to have that authority. Okay. Or we don't believe that you're supposed to use it right now. And she says, well, the form says I'm supposed to. And they say, well, no, we don't believe that. In fact, I had this matter during the pandemic. It was probably 2021. Had an older gentleman who had a bunch of money in the bank, loved his daughter completely, and wanted to let his daughter take out like $30,000 to put a roof on a house that she owned. Well, he has the right to do that. It's his money. So she sent him to the bank, and the bank wouldn't let her because they didn't believe he wanted her to do that. Well, so they came to me, and I created a power of attorney for them under the old law that they took to the bank, where he clearly gave her authority to be able to withdraw money from his account with that power of attorney. He was even there. They still wouldn't use it, even though they had a power of attorney. I called the bank. They still didn't want to use it. Now, after a while, we muscled them a little bit, and they went on and used it. Here's something that happens different now under the new Power of Attorney Act that lawyers love. In that exact situation, if that matter went to court, because the next step would be to go to court to get a judge to acknowledge that the power of attorney works and to order the bank to release the money. If that happened under the new power of attorney law, the bank is in trouble, and they have to pay the costs automatically of us going to court over that, because they didn't have true reason to believe that it didn't work. So that helps us be able to use that form with a bit more confidence. Now, again, maybe people still don't know what I'm talking about and everything. But the point that I want to make is this new power of attorney law allows us to help clients become much more confident in the power of attorney that we created, because it identifies those types of situations and directs all of the players on how to handle it. So that's a whole lot of legal stuff. I usually don't get legal.
The layman part of the story came together because I was thinking, like, are you kidding me? And then now we got to go to court, and I got to have court costs for something that I already paid to put in place in the first place.
And watch this. What we know about our fathers and our grandparents and all of that, the retirement age on up people, because I'm not there yet, but the retirement age on up people, what we know about them is they don't play about their money and they don't want a
No.
whole lot of back and forth. And so if they go to the bank and say, give her my money, they want them to give her the money. And in his case, and he was furious. This is an older man, and he was furious because they wouldn't, and he was even there. And he was furious, and he didn't have to go through that stress because they
No.
had a validly drafted power of attorney. Now, real quick, I just want to say for the bankers who may be listening, I get it. Their job also is to protect the account, and they are the ones who often see the daughter coming to steal the money and making it seem like she shouldn't. So they're in a bit of a pickle. So I get that. So the Power of Attorney Act also protects the banks. If a seemingly valid power of attorney is presented and the banks produce it, they don't have to later worry about the father coming back suing them saying, why did you release my money to her? So it kind of helps everybody in the scenario, and it leaves it to courts to determine what should happen if somebody brings a claim. So it's actually a great law. We're thrilled that that law was put in place.
Awesome. Awesome. So now it's my time to give you accolades and congratulate you. I don't know if you knew I came across this. So on your recent National Bar Association appointments at a convention that happened, you were
That's
voted
right.
to serve the 6th consecutive term as chair of the Real Property Trust and Estate section. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank
Now,
you. My
what does
pleasure.
that mean?
So great question. Great question. What is all of that? So the National Bar Association is the largest, longest running Black bar association. So everybody from Thurgood Marshalls to Johnny Cochran's to Willie Gary's to even VP Kamala Harris, our nominee for Democratic presidential nominee, is also part of the National Bar Association as an attorney. And so the Real Property Trust and Estate section is the section of attorneys within that bar who do the kind of work that I do. So yeah, I've been the chair of that section for a good amount of time. I also was voted onto the Board of Governors for the National Bar, and then voted onto the executive committee of the Board of Governors for this. So what that means is a whole lot of meetings.
But what it also means is that you know what you're talking about, because you wouldn't be appointed to these positions if you were just out there like we used to call doctors being quacks. You know,
Yeah.
was able to pass a few tests back in the day, but don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. It's honor and privilege. I'm thankful to God that this occurred, and let the work continue.
I love it. So, Terrence, we're going to pause real quick as we take a quick break to acknowledge some other events that are coming up from our core members that sponsor today's segment. We'll be right back. The Amazing Black Woman Week Business Boot Camp on August 20th, 2024 at 11 o'clock a.m. is having a conversation with Tina Williams at the Northwest Activity Center Boardroom, 18100 Myers Road in Detroit, Michigan. Meet the BUF Connect Millennial Council at the Mix Bricktown, located at 641 Bobium Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan, on August the 23rd from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Cost is $20. There will be a 50-50 raffle, gifts, and prizes. This is a fundraiser for BUF of Michigan for their youth programming that will continue on through 2024. Join the Red Dot Bags Packing Party. They're requesting fragrance-free sanitary pads on Saturday, August the 24th at 11 a.m. at Miss Eva's Detroit, 19566 Grand River in Detroit, Michigan. RSVP at awncares.org/events. It will be fun and fellowship as they pack the bags for distribution to do your part to end period poverty. Okay, Karen, we're back. Now, one thing that was geared up to play, so I'll let you talk about it versus me talk about it, is what's coming up this week. So I know we're talking here today, but this will be completely in Terrence's element of what he does. This is happening via Zoom on August the 16th at 12 p.m. So what exactly should people expect when they attend this event?
Yeah. So this is my signature presentation that I do nationally. It's my will and trust presentation, where we're just really breaking down wills, trusts, probate, powers of attorney, all of that stuff, and answering questions that people have in that regard. So I say all the time, I don't know how often it is that you can spend an hour with an attorney getting all your questions answered and don't get a bill, but that's during this time. That's during this webinar time.
During this time.
Yeah, we cover everything, and we really try, as I was talking about earlier, I really try to make sure it's a down-to-earth conversation and not an up-in-the-clouds legal clinic. So we're talking about real scenarios and how this stuff plays out in real life. And typically by the end of the presentation, people walk away knowing what they need to do. They don't know how to do it because I'm not teaching a law class. However, they know what they need to do, and they know what questions to ask as they're meeting with an attorney. So it's online, it's non-intrusive. Nobody has to show up anywhere. Just log on to Zoom. You don't even have to have your camera on because I can't see you anyway because it's webinar set up. And just have your questions ready. That's the main thing. Come with your questions, because in the beginning, I ask you to load the Q&A up with questions. And as I'm presenting, I try to address them. And then certainly at the end, I try to answer every question that's there. So it's a good time.
I love it. I love it. So one question that I do have for you tonight is that there was a post on your page, and it was in regards to your son being 18, going away to school. And you mentioned that there's some things that people may not be aware of at this transitional time in your children's lives. So elaborate for me, what was that post about?
Yeah, so I always push people to, when their child turns 18, to have them have at the very least powers of attorney put in place. Everyone 18 years old and older should have powers of attorney in place. And remember, as we talked about, those are the documents where you give someone authority to make financial decisions for you and medical decisions for you. Now, I can hear somebody saying, financial, my son's 18, doesn't have any money. Okay, all right, got it. However, you can't access FAFSA. You can't access their financial aid matters. You can't access any of their financial related matters without having authority. And so certainly, while they're able to give authority, they can tell whoever to talk to you, and then they can. But what happens if they can't make decisions? What happens if for whatever reason something's going on? That's a good segue to the healthcare power of attorney, although what I'm about to say applies to both. We don't want to think about this, but what happens if your son or your daughter ends up in the hospital and you call the facility, the campus medical center to get info like you've done all of their lives? They're going to tell you, we can't talk to you. And that's a bit of a rude awakening for a lot of parents, because up for 18 years, you've been getting that information with no pushback. And now all of a sudden they're going to say, we can't talk to you about it. And so what do you do in that situation? They can't talk to you at all. Well, if your child had a power of attorney in place where they appointed you and gave you permission and gave medical professionals permission to talk to you, then you'd be good. So everyone 18 and up needs to have those in place. My son is moving in, as I said, to college on Tuesday. I just earlier sent a message to my assistant to have her call my son to make sure he gets in here Friday or Monday to sign the plan I've already created for him before he gets off campus.
I'm glad you elaborated, because I had no idea that's where you were going with it. And it's so true, because, I have a child who's a young man. He's 25 now, but I remember where it's like, wait a minute, my son's on the spectrum. I've always been his advocate because he doesn't even know how to process some things, or may not even talk to you, let alone, have a conversation about his needs. So I'm always there. But when they was like, he needs to let us know if you could do this, I was like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And so I never thought about that he could get me as his, appoint me as his power attorney. Because what we do today is be like, okay, he has the phone. I'm sitting in the room telling him what to say, put it on speaker, let them know your mother's here. She's going to speak when she needs to. I mean, all of this has to happen right now to this day. I never thought about him doing a power attorney so that I can speak on his behalf for his care, or for different situations as it pertains to his disability. Because we did have that documented as an adult. I told him, I need you to document it as an adult so you have it if you ever need it. But I never thought about that. Thank you for elaborating on that. Wow, that's really good.
That's my job, right?
But now it made me think about something. Okay, because my daughter's recently engaged. So if I have power of attorney and your children get married, God forbid something happened to your child, what happens? Where does the order of right go?
Great question. So great question. So it goes with the document. So what I encourage people to do when they get married is make sure right after they're married, they update their power of attorney. Here's why. So she has a power of attorney in place that says, I want my mom to be the person to make decisions. She then gets married. She does not update the document. An event arises where someone has to make decisions for her, and you show up and he shows up, and there's a conflict. Who wins? Well, I would take either case. I think that you win because the power of attorney appoints you, but I also would take his case to say that he wins. And I would argue for him that she meant to change that once they got married. I can't say which one would win for sure. Whereas if as soon as she was married, she updated the power of attorney and said, yep, I'm married, but I still want my mom to be the one in charge, I wouldn't take his case anymore because it's a loser. It's a losing case. I would take your case all day long because it's clear that she intended to do that post-marriage. So, all of this is why, and maybe this is where I'll end. All of this is why I always say everybody needs an estate planning attorney in their life. And you don't want it to be just someone who creates a document for you. You want it to be somebody who can ride with you throughout the twists and turns of your life so they can be on hand, on speed dial, to help you navigate these situations as they arise that you don't even know are coming. That's my job. That's the value of an estate planning attorney.
Right. And from memory, you need to review your documents a minimum of once per year. That's what you encourage people to do because of changes within life that we sometimes overlook.
That you never would guess sometimes that you'd have. I go through my list of questions in the review. Everybody, I'll never make a change. As soon as I go through my list, they want to make a change. So yeah, you're right. Every single year, like a doctor's checkup.
Got you. So Terrence, we're going to take one little quick break. And then when we get back, what I need from you, I need to know what keeps you encouraged. What book is on your nightstand or that you highly recommend reading? And then any closing remarks and how people can connect with you. So we'll be right back. All righty. Trueness of the Words, Mothers, Healing, and Forgiveness Brunch, exclusively for mothers with adult daughters, to heal and forgive ourselves for what we just didn't know. Experience the power of healing on Saturday, August the 24th, from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. The cost is $42 per person at 6600 Allen Road in Allen Park, Michigan, hosted by Eleanor Fleming. The Braid Gallery's 10th annual Back to School Backpack School Supplies Giveaway with fun games and prizes and refreshments on Saturday, August the 24th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 10606 West 7 Mile Road in Detroit, Michigan, across from the Home Depot. Okay, Terrence, we're back. One thing that I want to make sure, though, before those questions, because I almost forgot, you are a author. I need people to know that. So outside of what book is on your nightstand, you guys need to get this book and put it on your nightstand. So tell us more about this book, Terrence.
Yeah, this is exciting to me. Even this is just me talking about all things will or trust. Again, I'm really trying to get out everywhere I can, and I'm only human, and so I can't be everywhere all the time. But my book can. My book can be somewhere where I'm not, and so it really walks through questions that I know people have. I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I think I've heard most of the questions. I know it's on people's minds. It also talks about how to get it done. It talks about how to find a good estate planning attorney, how to choose them, how to select them. So it's really good. It can be purchased from Amazon. It's still in pre-sale right now. It's a bestseller already on pre-sale. But September 3rd it goes live. So we're right on the cusp of the book hitting people's Kindles as well as their nightstands.
I love it. I love it. And did y'all catch that real quick? He said it is already a bestseller. In case you missed it, I caught it. So, Terrence, please let us know what book is currently on your nightstand or that you highly recommend reading.
Yeah, there are 2 right now that I'm reading as we speak. One of them is called 10 Times is Easier Than 2 Times. And it's a book really for business owners about how to grow. A lot of times we think our next step is to double what we're doing right now or add one more to what it is. And in the book, they're saying that it's even better if you shoot for 10 times, because 10 times is going to require you to work in a way that will actually get you there. 2 times is going to allow you to continue to deal with the things that are holding you up from growing. So it's a great book. It's written by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And again, it's 10 Times is Easier Than 2 Times. The other book that I'm reading 2 at the same time, is What Would the Rockefellers Do? And it's by Garrett Gunderson. And it's an excellent book where it's talking about how the Rockefellers built their estate to last for generations and generations and generations and generations to come. Mm-hmm. And it's looking like it will never end. The way they funded it is something that everyday people really can do to do that. So it's an excellent book that I strongly recommend. And it's called What Would the Rockefellers Do? And it's by Garrett Gunderson.
I love it. I love it. So how can people connect with you?
Yeah, easily. I'm all over social media. So just look for TGQ Law, TGQ Law, anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I'm there. And or go to my website, which is tgqlaw.com, and you'll easily get in touch with me that way.
I love it. I love it. And what would you leave us with? How do you stay encouraged? And what last words do you have for us?
Yeah, 2 things come to mind when you say, how do I stay encouraged? The first is my faith, easily. So just my leaning into the creator of it all, the one who truly knows everything. We think we know something. But the longer I'm living, the more gray hair I get, the more I'm realizing that we don't. But we can be connected with the one who does. And so I lean into him heavily and truly believe that all things truly do work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So that's the one thing. But the other thing that keeps me encouraged is people like you. You're out here getting it done. You're out here. I'm watching what you're doing, and I see how you're giving to the community. You're serving business owners, helping spread what they're doing, and really trying to connect people. And that's refreshing. We don't always see that happening from people. Everybody's out trying to make it for themselves. And what I see you doing is following what I heard someone say one time, Zig Ziglar. You can have everything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And so people like you out here doing that is extremely encouraging to me as well.
Well, I truly appreciate that. Thank you. I never know. That lets me know that I have the encouragement now to keep going, because sometimes, like you said, you feel like you're on the mountain, like, please listen, please, please. And after so long, you just like, okay, I think I'm just going to stop. But when I hear that, thank you, because it lets me know, oh, I am making a difference. Let me keep going. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we're a little bit over, but with the technical difficulties, I think that's why. But I thank you so much for being here again, Terrence. I learned something new tonight. I learn something new every time we have a conversation, but literally I learned several new things tonight. So thank you for the work that you do. And believe me, don't let your arms get tired on the mountain. People are hearing what you're saying. I'm not quite sure why we don't move as quickly as we need to. But if you continue to do what you are purposed to do, you are going to see the fruits from your efforts. You're going to have those thank yous that come later in life. You know, it's the kind of like when people with life insurance, they were tirelessly, but now they have the testimonies of during that time and season when it was the most, you know, sad for people, when they were at their sad, and they didn't have to go through the additional stress because they were able to show up with that policy check to make that piece of it better for them. And it's going to be the same thing that afterwards, you're going to be like, because of the work that we did and that's in place, you'll have some peace that you won't have to deal with during this time of sadness. So yes, please stay encouraged, and thank you for your commitment to what you do.
My pleasure. Thank you as well.
So for those who are tuning in for next week, we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Jason Integrity, who is a sales strategist of Integrity Go. That's on the 21st. And then on the 28th, we'll be talking with Ishmael Terry, the founder of nonprofit All for One. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. All you need to do is, while on YouTube, do a search for Deals with Bob and click the subscribe button. Your subscription allows for us to have further reach for conversations just like this one. Again, my thanks to you, Terrence. My thanks to Eleanor Fleming for all the amazing comments for tonight's show. And for all of those who are watching live and on the replay, thank you for watching, and make sure you share. I am Dr. Sonia M. Weaver, and I encourage you to spend with purpose, because your dollar does matter, and deal with Bob. Have an amazing night. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.